So welcome back to another episode, and today I'm going to talk about some games I've been playing recently in the last week or so. What have you guys been playing? Let me know down below. Let's all chat about it and have some fun and get some recommendations from some other people on some games you may have missed. And some of these games I initially missed and I've been playing and been trying out because I just came off Resident Evil 8. Kim just came off Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, the high definition remaster. That took all of her time. I had to kick her off Mineral Town to play it. I said, oh, we gotta play this instead. And she's like, I don't want to leave Mineral Town. I'm like, we gotta leave Mineral Town. That's for sure. Okay, the first game I want to talk about is a game that has really excited me, and I finally got to play it. And I initially saw this at the Nintendo Direct, and I reacted to it, and I was very excited to see that this game was coming out. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know it existed. And it's a remake of a game from 1988, and then a sequel, prequel, that came out in 1989, and that is Famicom Detective Club. Yes, a visual novel. And some people might say, why were you excited about that? Because that was my most hyped couple of games at that Nintendo Direct over all the other stuff, like, Skyward Sword, high definition. That looked great, but Famicom Detective Club really sold it for me. And people will say, why? Why a visual novel? And what is a visual novel? Let's get into it. So, to begin with, I want to say some of the reasons why I like visual novels, and I brought some examples of it over the years here for myself. Like in 1982, I started to read Choose Your Own Adventure books right here, and I thought they were fantastic. They had visuals, they had pictures, and I could choose where I wanted to go in the book itself. And this is the beginning of these style of games, of visual novels. And then we got some other games like Fighting Fantasy, where you could roll dice and you had a character and kind of go through the game that way through a book, right? Because video games were still not quite where they should have been. And then so obviously computer games were really doing it. And then I played games like Shadowgate, and I was like, this is awesome. And it was different because at that point, we'd only experienced action games and things like that. RPGs for sure, but that first-person, exploration visual novel where you could interact and pick up items and investigate, that was pretty cool. Obviously, when we got I had to bring Snatcher out for this. When Snatcher came out, I was absolutely sold on visual novels forever, and that took us up to, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. Great series of games, and there's been so many great visual novels over the years. And basically what a visual novel is a series of cutscenes that you can interact with. You read them. It's a novel that you can be a part of. Now, these style of games are not for everybody, that is for sure. Even my wife Kim started to play it. I think we were a couple of hours into the first one, and that's The Missing Heir. We were playing that one to begin with, and Kim's like, she enjoyed the story, but she's like, I just feel like I'm mindlessly clicking. And that is true. You're going through menus after menus, you're interviewing people, and then based on what they say, you go to different menus and go back to different rooms and explore and go through other menus. You're constantly in menus and you're constantly clicking answers and questions and characters and all that to reveal more of the story, and then they trigger other story elements. These games are not for everybody, but they're definitely for me. And I really like visual novels. And the one thing I want to say about Famicom Detective Club that I find fascinating and fantastic is I thought it was going to be pretty good. Like graphic-wise, I thought it's going to be okay. And then all of a sudden, I start to see the visuals of this game, and I'm like, this game is like really good. I was saying to Kim, I said, oh my God, every time we got to a new scene or a new location, I said, this is like a AAA game because it's by Nintendo, right? They've really put the money into the backgrounds. So they're obviously they're created in the computer, they're hand painted in the computer, and they look so good, like right out of a Miyazaki anime, like really great stuff looking there. And also the characters are really nice, and especially when you go into new locations and the characters appear, everything's in perspective. I just kind of want to say that. It's not like a cheap cutout yes, they do that. The characters are cut out at times, but sometimes they're interacting with the environment when you go to a new location. And the thing about visual novels, if you're into them, you really get into them. And why you do, the story. If the story is good and the investigation or whatever you're doing and the story is good, you're in. And I'm telling you, I'm so into this investigation and what's going on. And we're only a few hours in. I think we're about 3 hours in. And it's great. It's a whole cast of characters. It's kind of like a Knives Out style of game. You're investigating a family. I don't want to give too much away. You've lost your memory. You've been investigating this before you lost your memory, because you show up on a cliff and you fell and you're like, why did I fall? What happened to me? Did I fall? Why have I lost my memory? The one thing that me and Kim were laughing about with this game is because the game, begins when you wake up and you don't know who you are. And all these people around you are going, oh, you don't remember who you are? Oh no, well, give it some time, I'm sure you'll remember. Me and Kim were just going, take this person to a hospital. Take them to a hospital. That's what's gonna help them out, not having them wander around the streets when they don't know who they are. But I mean, come on. But it's okay, I understand. This is a game from 1988, and that's the interesting thing. This was a Famicom game, right? That they've remastered and remade, and I was really, really fascinated about it. And the one thing that I will say, oh my God, the original artwork for the 1988-89 games, so beautiful and so a product of that time period. The paintings, whoa. I mean, during the Famicom, Nintendo era, the artwork from that time is just ridiculous. For the original stuff, I think the modern day stuff is okay, because this is the thing. There's a special edition out in Japan. They get a physical special edition. We, unfortunately, only have digital only. And I think it's a crying shame for what these games are. There should be one physical game where both chapters or both parts are included in that physical game and released with a reversible cover. And what's sad is Nintendo will never do like a limited run style of game like this. And it's really unfortunate, because this game is something that I personally like. As I say, Kim's very lukewarm on it. And I think a lot of people will have that feeling going in. They'll be like, I'm just clicking on menus. But if you get into the story and the investigation and get lost in that, you really... I think you also had to really like anime art and just art in general. And I think it really opens up to you that way and becomes something really special. And I think this game is a very special game for me. Now, the next game I've been playing is a game that I can't wrap my head around if I like this game or I do not like this game. I'm 5 hours in and I cannot make a decision. And I know I'm very early in the game. I need to play the game more. I get that. What do you guys think of this game? Returnal. I'm playing it on the PS5, obviously, and I don't know what to make of it. It is a very strange game. It's kind of like a bit of Prometheus, a little bit of the Matrix is going on in there, a little bit of Metroid Prime, and it reminds me of a certain movie, Live, Die, Repeat. Remember that one? The Edge of Tomorrow? Where with Tom Cruise, and he keeps dying and having to relive that day over and over, and he has to change what he does to get through that day, and he does it like so many times, hundreds of times to get through it. That's what this game reminds me of, because you crash land on this planet, you're exploring around, and then you get killed. And then all of a sudden, you're flying towards the planet, you crash, and we rinse and repeat this over and over and over again. And it's very, very unusual. There's certain moments where I'm having the best time of my entire life, where I'm getting further and further than where I was before, and the game keeps changing on you. So it's kind of a rogue style game in a way, where some levels you get to, you're like, oh, I've been here before, and some levels you're like, I don't kind of remember this, and then you die, and then you do it again. And you're taking different paths through it, and you're learning. Hopefully, I was having a hard time learning. I was really getting frustrated with this game because I get so far and then I just have to start at the beginning again as soon as I died. Sometimes I get overwhelmed, right, by all these like creatures, like they're like, you know, sentries from like, they look like something out of the Matrix coming at me, and I'm just getting overwhelmed with it. And I'm like, wait a second, I don't have to fight all these. I can just run to the door. And I was like, I learned something there. I don't have to stand and fight every single thing that is thrown my way. Where when I was first playing the game, I thought that it's a really weird game. It's frustrating and it's rewarding and the graphics are really cool. I like that, but it's weird. It's a weird beast, this game, and I'll have to play it some more. I couldn't even make a first thoughts on the video right now, on the video game. I couldn't even make a first thoughts because I can't wrap my head around if I love it or hate it. I'm somewhere in between. Now, the last game I've been playing was a game I discovered late one night. Yes, I was watching one of my friends, Luke Moore's One. That's old school YouTube for you right there. Playing a game called Night Slashers. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Because I am somebody that grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I was in every arcade back then. And I feel that I've seen every single arcade game there is. I've played every single arcade game there is because that's what I did back then. It was my major thing in life. I loved it. Where I had never seen this goddamn game. All the times in arcades, I'd never seen this game. Night Slashers. And yes, there's nothing special here. It's just a side view beat 'em up style of game where you're beating up zombies, werewolves, vampires. Frankenstein is in the game. You can pick 3 characters. And it's nothing remarkable. But I do like beat 'em ups from this era. It's from 1993 from Data East. And I was so surprised Luke's playing it. And I'm like, what is this game? It's so intriguing. And then for some reason, I'm like, I'm going to go check on the Switch if there's any, because the Switch has so many arcade games. And I typed in Night Slashers. And I swear the game was like $6. And I'm like, what? And I downloaded it. And so I went through the game. And it is just ridiculous. I mean, I'll say this much. It is pretty stereotypical for a beat 'em up, but the animation is pretty cool. When you beat a boss, he just like melts. His skin melts off his body, and through his bones are showing and stuff like that, and then that melts under the ground. And I'm like, this is pretty good animation from 1993, and kind of reminds you of a Neo Geo game, gives you that kind of feeling. And I really like this era of video games and of beat 'em ups from this time. So I had to experience it. It wasn't an expensive jump in, and I kind of had a good time with it. It was really interesting. I thought, yeah, they're trying to find another angle on the beat 'em up thing. You're fighting werewolves and as I say, vampires, Dracula and stuff like that. It's silly, and it's silly fun. But I had a good time playing it. I'm glad that I did. So, guys, again, I'm going to ask, what games have you been playing recently? These are the few games I've been playing. There's some big reviews coming up in the next, I'd say, 2 to 3 weeks. That is for sure. So, anyways, guys, until next time.